welcome to part 6 of the Chalice of Blood Warhammer 40,000 narrative campaign, brought to you by the Legion Wargaming. If you haven't yet watched parts 1 to 5, we would recommend you do so, but to briefly recap, we are on the world of Calicum Tertius, known as the Chalice, where the World Eaters are seeking to destroy their former brothers, the Raven Guard. So far, the World Eaters have decisively defeated both the Raven Guard in a slaughter at their drop site and the Grey Knights as they launched a teleport attack on the Traitors Command Centre. Following bloody street fighting between the Raven Guard and the World Eaters in the ruins of Firelight City, the Ravens have, with the aid of the surviving Grey Knights, managed to break through the traitor lines and are now striking back. In revenge for the fallen Raven Guard captain and Grey Knights Grand Master, the loyal sons of the Imperium have slain the World Eaters captain. But the traitors on this world are now under the command of a powerful Psyker, formerly a member of the 12th Legion's Librarius. The battle today is a custom scenario as the Raven Guard ambush a convoy of traitor World Eaters as they pass through the Halo Valley towards one of their strongholds. At least it was one of their strongholds until very recently. This scenario is based on convoy ambush scenario from Imperial Armour Volume 2, the Taros campaign. Let's take a look at the armies and some of the scenario rules. This 800-point World Eaters Legion list are the defenders of the convoy moving through the Halo Valley, and they are led by a Centurion. He has a combi melter and a power fist, and he has brought along 2 troops choices. A squad of 12 World Eaters. They're a tactical squad with chain axes, bolt pistols, and their sergeant has artificer armour and a power fist. And as another troop's choice, another tactical squad. They have their bolt guns and their sergeant has artificer armour and a power fist. And he has also brought some close combat power. A squad of 5 Rampagers. They have their gladiatorial weapons, including 2 meteor hammers, 2 excoriator chain axes, and their champion has twin phalanx blades. And the final choice in this small force that are going to have to fight off the Raven Guard is a Legion tactical support squad. They have 4 melter guns. This is 800 points of World Eaters. They will be facing off against 1,500 points of Raven Guard. This is going to be a challenge for them. Let's have a look at what the Raven Guard have brought along to this ambush. This 1,500 point Raven Guard list are the ambushers of this convoy, and they have picked 2 formations. The first is a shadow force led by veteran Sergeant Kalen Var. He may not hold the rank of captain, but he is in command of this force. We have picked him as a captain today. He has a combi melter and a power sword, and in his shadow force he has a squad of 5 stern guard. 3 of them have combi melters, a land speeder with a heavy flamer and a multi-melter, and a squad of vanguard. They have plasma pistols, power swords, power fists, storm shields. They are armed to the teeth. This formation gives scout and move through cover, could come in quite handy in this ambush scenario. The second formation is very fitting. This scenario is called Shadowstrike, so of course the Ravens have to bring a Shadowstrike kill team of 2 squads of 5 scouts with camo cloaks and sniper rifles, and a full strength squad, 10 vanguard. They have jump packs, power fists and storm shields. They're very expensive and very lethal, but will they be able to bash their way through the defenders of this convoy? And finally we have some of the survivors of the 3rd company. A tactical squad of 10 Marines. Their sergeant has a combi melter, they have a plasma gun and a las cannon. And a squad of 5 Devastators. They have 4 missile launchers ready to unleash a hail of destruction on the hopefully surprised World Eaters. The Raven Guard, they have almost double the number of points of the World Eaters in this scenario, but their objective is not easy. Let's take a look at deployment and the rest of the scenario rules. And the armies have deployed, and in this scenario the World Eaters, they all have to deploy within 18 inches of the centre point of the table as they come spilling out of the vehicles to defend the convoy. The vehicles are the objectives in this game. They cannot move, they cannot shoot, to represent the element of surprise as the Ravens spring their trap, but they must be destroyed. They have the same armour values and hull points as normal vehicles of their type, and the two Rhinos and the Predator, they're worth 1 victory point each to the Raven Guard if they're destroyed, and 1 victory point each to the World Eaters at the end of the game if they are not destroyed. The Land Raiders, exactly the same, but they are worth 2 victory points each, and they do have armoured ceramites, so the Land Raiders really are a tricky proposition. Although the World Eaters only have 800 points to the Raven Guard's 1500, for this scenario they have all been given the Zealot special rule as they rush to desperately defend themselves. So the Rampagers are leading the way. They have already sprinted from their vehicle and they are climbing over this defended ridge, and the Centurion has ordered his large squad of 12 World Eaters. They are forming a screen. They are trying to defend the vehicles by giving them a cover save using their own bodies. Meanwhile, the tactical support squad with their melter guns, they are moving towards the base. But there's some Raven Guard scouts that they're going to have to deal with. The other tactical squad, they have fanned out behind the Land Raider that is bringing up the rear of the column, but the World Eaters do only have those 4 units, so they may well be up against it. The Ravens in this scenario can deploy within 6 inches of any table edge except where the base is, which is the World Eaters' home table edge, and the troops that can scout can deploy anywhere as long as it's more than 12 inches away from the World Eaters, and the same goes for the infiltrating scouts. So the Ravens have sprung their trap from the ridgeline, forming the walls of Halo Valley. We have a tactical squad of 5 with their plasma gun. They're looking to advance into the centre of the column to do some damage, and Veteran Sergeant Kalen Vise leading his stern guard with exactly the same objective. Meanwhile, the other half of the tactical squad with their las cannon, they are looking to give fire from long range. On the other side of the valley, the rest of the Shadow Force have sprung their trap. The Vanguard and the Land Speeder, they are moving in on these vehicles from behind, and they are supported by the 3rd Company Devastators that have crept over this rocky rise, preparing to give fire with their missile launchers. And as we've seen, the Scouts, they are right up on the edge of the base. They've infiltrated there. They are looking to give fire to gun down as many World Eaters as possible with their sniper rifles, clear the path to the vehicles, and of course they may well be calling in support in the form of the Vanguard veterans from the Shadowstrike kill team. They have a good chance of damaging the Land Raiders with many power fist attacks. So this could be a very interesting scenario. The Ravens automatically get the first turn unless the World Eaters can seize initiative. So we will make the roll now. If the World Eaters fail, we will be going into Raven Guard turn 1. End of Raven Guard movement phase turn 1, and some elements of the Raven Guard ambush force have wasted no time in moving down from the ridgeline to take the fight to the traitors. This tactical squad is moving forwards with their plasma gun and combi melter, and they are flanked by Veteran Sergeant Var and his stern guard. Meanwhile, on this ridgeline, the tactical combat squad with the las cannon have held position. The other elements of the Shadow Force, they are closing in. They have seen that this Rhino is very vulnerable, and 3 of the veterans in this squad have plasma pistols. Combined with the fire of their Land Speeder, surely can take out 1 Rhino from behind. Devastators have held position on the far ridge, and the Scouts are happy to give fire with their sniper rifles. From behind the barricades, they are going to try to take out the tactical support squad moving towards them. So, looks like the Ravens have got the World Eaters well and truly surrounded, but these vehicles are going to be a tough challenge for them. With no psychers on either side in this battle, there will be no psychic phases, so we move into Raven Guard shooting phase turn 1. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 1, and these Ravens have been in the field for so long without support they are experiencing significant weapons malfunctions. This tactical squad opened up on the World Eaters protecting the Land Raider, managed to take down one with their bolters and another with their plasma gun, but the plasma gun overheated and took out the brother carrying it. Meanwhile, the Stern Guard, their hatred of the World Eaters knows no bounds. They open fire with vengeance rounds, and one brother paid the price. His weapon malfunctioned and took him out of the battle, but 2 World Eaters went down. And then Veteran Sergeant Kalen Var opened fire with his bolt gun. He got 2 hits and 2 wounds, and the World Eaters Sergeant attempted to tank it with his artificer armour, but he went down. He rolled a 1. But good news for the World Eaters, as this tactical squad opened fire with their las cannon. They managed to get a glancing hit on the Land Raider, but was saved, as these World Eaters are giving it some cover against the Marine carrying the las cannon. The weapons malfunctions continued with the Vanguard. Over on this side of the valley, one of their plasma pistols overheated and the brother was blown to pieces. And even worse, the 2 brothers that did hit both failed to penetrate the rear armour of the Rhino. The Land Speeder then tried to make up for it. It missed with its multi-melter, and its heavy flamer could do nothing to the Rhino, so the Raven Guard Devastators were forced to open fire on it, and they have managed to knock off 2 hull points. But that is the only damage done to any vehicle this turn. Very disappointing for the Ravens, but the Scouts did quite well with their sniper rifle fire. They managed to shoot down 3 of the World Eaters tactical support squad advancing towards them. So the World Eaters appeared to have weathered the first volley of Raven Guard fire quite well. Let's see how they respond going into World Eaters turn 1. End of World Eaters movement phase turn 1, and as the Rampagers come running back over the barricades, down the rocks, they are looking to get to grips with this tactical squad. The remnants of the World Eaters tactical squad with bolters, they have fanned out even further. They are still trying to protect their highly valued Land Raider, and they are going to give fire onto Kalen Var and his Stern Guard. Meanwhile, the Centurion and his large squad, they are moving back. They have seen the threat posed by these Vanguard and the Land Speeder. They're going to try and take the Land Speeder out with a storm of bolt pistol fire, possibly a crack grenade, we shall see. And the last 2 remaining members of the tactical support squad, they realise melter guns are very little use against Raven Guard scouts with camo cloaks behind barricades, so they are moving back as well to deal with the Ravens over this side of the valley. But the World Eaters are struggling. They do not have many units to protect all these vehicles, and they know that the Vanguard with Power Fist still haven't arrived yet. Still, let's see how effective the World Eaters return fire is in World Eaters shooting phase turn 1. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 1, and as their melter guns were out of range, the tactical support Marines have run forward another 5 inches to see if they can block any Raven Guard coming this direction in future turns. Meanwhile, the Land Speeder was targeted by the few members of the large squad of World Eaters that were in range. It looked like the Land Speeder had made a mistake when he chose not to jink, as some bolt pistol fire took off a hull point and then the crack grenade hit. Fortunately for the Raven Guard vehicle, the crack grenade rolled a 1 for armour penetration, so he's still alive, but he could have easily gone down. Meanwhile, these tactical Marines open fire with their bolters against Kalen Var and his Stern Guard. He is standing to the fore, and he decided not to ask his brothers to endanger themselves. He took 1 wound as the bolt slammed into him. And the final World Eaters squad are the Rampagers. They did not scout. They can charge this turn, and I think they're going to have a go. Going into World Eaters assault phase turn 1. End of World Eaters assault phase turn 1, and as the tactical squad opened fire on Overwatch, they managed 3 hits and 3 wounds against the Rampagers, but the maddened World Eaters proved impervious to the bolts. They did not go down. Fortunately for this Raven Guard tactical squad, the Rampagers rolled a 5, which put them about 3/4 of an inch out of charge range. So a brief reprieve for the Ravens. Their turn 1 was disappointing. Let's see if their turn 2 is more effective with the arrival of the Shadowstrike Kill Team's Vanguard veterans. Raven Guard, turn 2. End of Raven Guard movement phase, turn 2, and the Shadow Forces land speeder is attempting to be very cunning. He is going to target the rear of the Predator with his heavy flamer and hopefully in the process burn out some World Eaters at the same time, and then he's going to also fire his multi-melter at the rear of the Predator. He has left the destruction of the badly damaged Rhino to the 2 remaining brothers with plasma pistols, but they have not advanced. They do not want to get too near to all of these World Eaters moving towards them. The Devastators are planning to combine their fire with the land speeder onto the Predator to make sure it goes down. Meanwhile, Kalen Var and his Stern Guard are trying to clear away the last tactical marines that are shielding this Land Raider. They want the las cannon marine here to take it out, and this tactical squad, they are fanning out to try and stop this tide of World Eaters that are counter-attacking them. Meanwhile, at the head of the column, the Shadowstrike Kill Team Vanguard have arrived. They've been guided down by the scouts, and they are looking to leap straight at the leading Land Raider in the column and smash their way through it with their power fists. But it's worth noting these vehicles do not count as immobilised, so they will not be automatically hit. It's just in this scenario they are not allowed to move, and the scouts, they have not moved either. They are going to continue to pick off World Eaters with their sniper fire. Let's see if the arrival of the Vanguard can swing this battle. It is possible that the Ravens could achieve enough victory points for victory, but it is a very tall order. Let's see how they get on going into their turn 2 shooting phase. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 2, and the land speeder and the Vanguard from the Shadow Force continue to be very, very disappointing. The land speeder washed its heavy flamer over these World Eaters and into the back of the Predator, but only managed to take out 1 World Eater. Had no effect on the Predator's armour. Then hit and penetrated with its multi-melter, but one of the World Eaters got in the way and no damage was done. The 2 remaining Vanguard with plasma pistols in this squad both hit the rear of the Rhino, but once again failed to penetrate. The Devastators did not want to waste their volley of crack missiles, taking the last hull point from 1 Rhino, but they were rewarded as they got 2 hull points worth of damage on the Predator in the centre. Kalen Var and his Stern Guard, they open fire with vengeance rounds once again, and none of them fell, but they managed to gun down 4 more World Eaters, leaving only 1 World Eater left in this squad, but all the World Eaters in this scenario do have Zealot. That cleared the path for the Marine with the las cannon, but unfortunately he missed. Meanwhile, this tactical squad managed to get another 3 wounding hits on the Rampagers, but the maddened Marines did not feel them. These Rampagers do not want to go down. They were also targeted by the 1 squad of scouts that could see them, and again there was no effect, but the other squad of scouts managed to take out 1 more Marine with a melter gun with a long range sniper round. So another quite disappointing phase from the Ravens. Let's see if the newly arrived Vanguard veterans can make a difference in Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2. End of Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 2, and the Vanguard veterans have swung this battle. They ploughed into the lead Land Raider with their power fists. They managed 20 hits and 5 hull points. They have wrecked it. So at least the Shadowstrike Kill Team is fulfilling the mission objectives. The rest of the Ravens appear to be struggling. Let's see what the World Eaters do in World Eaters Turn 2. End of World Eaters movement phase Turn 2, and the Centurion has decided that he simply does not have anything in his force that can stand up to the Vanguard. He is hoping that they will only destroy this one more rhino. Meanwhile, the rest of his force rushes to destroy the ravens and preserve the predator, the second rhino and the land raider. If they can do that, they will achieve victory. And he has decided to do that by splitting off from his large squad of world eaters. They are ordered to attempt to charge into the vanguard. They have one marine who's quite close. If he can get in, nowhere near all of the world eaters will get to strike, but the vanguard will be tied up. The marine with a melter gun, the last remaining member of his squad, he is moving up to see if he can take out one of the vanguard. Meanwhile, the centurion himself is hoping that his charge path is clear, so he can personally take out the land speeder. And if he fails, the last tactical marine from this squad is moving to take out the land speeder as well. They are hoping that the formidable armour of this land raider will protect it from the Raven Guard on this side, particularly the stern guard and the sniping las cannon. Unfortunately, the world eaters really don't have any answers at the current time to the devastators either, so they just have to hope. Meanwhile, these rampagers, well, it looks like curtains for this small tactical squad. They are an inch away, they're not going to fail their charge, and they're pretty nasty in hand to hand, as you'd expect. So the world eaters have abandoned the head of their column. They are trying to preserve the centre and the rear. Let's see what they achieve in their second shooting phase. End of world eaters shooting phase, turn 2, and there was very little firing, as a lot of the world eaters do not want to make their charge distances any harder. But the centurion looked on as the approaching tactical marine from the squad that was guarding the land raider tossed a crack grenade over the heads of his brethren. It landed in the land speeder's cockpit and blew the machine out of the air. So the centurion turned around and contented himself with vaping one of Kalen Var's stern guard with his combi melter. So these world eaters have not fired their bolt pistols. They want to try to get into these vanguard veterans, and just to try and hold them up more than anything else, this marine with his melter gun is also going to attempt to charge. And speaking of charges, we are going to definitely have one more as the rampagers tear this tactical squad to pieces. At least that's what we're expecting going into World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 2. End of World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 2, and the rampagers tore the tactical squad to pieces, but at least the brave ravens managed to take out one of the maddened rampagers before they were torn apart. And the gigantic squad of world eaters, they rolled double six for their charge, so they came pouring past their centurion, past the rhino and the predator and the land raider, and made it in to the vanguard veterans. But such a sprint must have been tiring for them, as they only managed to pull down one vanguard. They lost one world eater in return. Meanwhile, the vanguard veteran sergeant challenged the world eater's sergeant, but the world eater's power fist could not get past the Raven storm shield, and in return the Raven Guard smashed him down. So this combat is ongoing, and it looks like the world eaters are doing an excellent job at driving the ravens away from the rear of their column at least. If these world eaters had rolled a bit better to get their way through the vanguard, then there was a very real danger that the Raven Guard devastators would have been in danger. But we will see. The ravens still have a lot of assets, including, crucially, the vanguard veterans from the Shadowstrike. Let's see what they do going into Raven Guard Turn 3. End of Raven Guard movement phase, Turn 3, and the vanguard are leaping forwards. Following their success against the lead land raider, they are going to try and smash the rhino and the predator that are following up. This squad is going to charge. They should easily make it. This squad, they have a slightly harder charge, but we shall see. If they smash the rhino and the predator, they will have 2 points for the land raider, 1 each for them. That will be 4. The world eaters got first blood with the rampagers wiping out a tactical squad. The ravens haven't wiped out any world eaters units yet, but These Vanguard have been ordered to gun down the Rampagers. It's hard to see 3 of them taking out all of them, but they've been left on their own by Veteran Sergeant Caelan Var because Slay the Warlord is available in this scenario. He has not used his combi melter yet. He is moving to see if he can vape the World Eater Centurion. If the Ravens can get first blood as well, destroy these vehicles, perhaps the Devastators can take out this Rhino. That will put the game beyond the World Eaters. The Devastators probably only have one more volley left because the Vanguard veterans here, they are still tied up. It's hard to see them triumphing over these World Eaters, and that will leave the Devastators very vulnerable. So they've got their volley, and meanwhile the tactical squad still on the ridge with the las cannon is going to keep trying to take out the Land Raider, or if necessary he can turn his fire on one of the other vehicles. We shall see going into Raven Guard shooting phase turn 3. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 3, and the Stern Guard once again open fire with vengeance rounds. They managed to shoot down 2 of the Rampagers charging towards them. Is it enough to save them? We will see. Meanwhile, Caelan Var hit the Centurion with his combi melter, but rolled a 1 to wound. Slay the Warlord may be crucial. It could be the point that swings the game depending on how the Raven Guard get on, destroying these vehicles. We shall see, but at least the Centurion was wounded by a long range shot from the Raven Guard scouts, who are still in position on the outskirts of the base. Meanwhile, this Marine with his las cannon missed once again, and the Devastators, they contented themselves with easily taking this Rhino's last hull point. So the Ravens currently, they have 2 for 1 destroyed Land Raider, 1 for 1 destroyed Rhino. It looks very much like they may get another 2. Would that take the game beyond the World Eater's reach? Yes, because they will only have 2 for 1 remaining Land Raider and First Blood, and if they get Slay the Warlord, that will only give them 4 points. So the World Eaters, they desperately need one of these squads of Vanguard to fail their charge in Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 3. End of Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 3, and all sorts of things are happening. The first squad of Vanguard made it into the Rhino and tore it to pieces, but we think this Rhino may have been carrying ammunition as it blew up in a huge explosion and took out 2 Vanguard. Meanwhile, the World Eaters were granted a reprieve. This squad, they tried to charge the Predator. They rolled a 4, and with their reroll for being Vanguard veterans, they rerolled and rolled a 5. They were half an inch out of charge range. That is quite a reprieve, as the Raven Guard, they really only need that Predator to go down to ensure their victory. But the World Eaters were not so fortunate. Over on the far side of the valley, despite a huge amount of attacks, the World Eaters Tactical Marines only managed to drag down 1 Vanguard veteran. In return, the 2 surviving veterans each smashed a World Eater with their power fists. They remain locked. These Vanguard veterans have, without a doubt, saved the lives of the 3rd Company Devastators. So this game is still wide open. The World Eaters have 2 points for the Land Raider, 1 for the Predator and First Blood. They have 4, and the Raven Guard currently have 2 for the Land Raider and 2 Rhinos. They also have 4. So the World Eaters, they need to maintain the Predator and the Land Raider that are still not wrecked, and maybe, just maybe, if they can achieve Slay the Warlord, they could snatch victory. But it's a long shot. It is their turn next. World Eaters, turn 3. And the World Eaters movement phase, turn 3, and it is desperate stuff from the traitors now. The Rampagers have abandoned attacking the Stern Guard veterans. They have turned their attention back to these Vanguard. They're going to try and charge them and beat them, but that's not easy. But they're more likely to do that than the lone Marine with a melter gun, who has decided that he is going to try to hold back these 5 Vanguard veterans. Good luck to him achieving that. Even if these 2 remnants of squads manage to hold off the vanguard, it's hard to see this Predator surviving another volley from the Devastators, who have been saved by the valiant actions of the vanguard on this side of the valley, or even the las Cannon Marine, who is still standing on this ridge. But hope springs eternal, as they say. Meanwhile, this lone tactical marine is going to try to lock up the Sternguard veterans in assault, and the Centurion has decided that this Raven Guard sergeant is going to die. They won't slay the Warlord, and he will take great satisfaction from crushing the commander who has attacked his armoured convoy. The only other World Eaters unit is, of course, the tactical squad, who are still desperately trying to drag down the last two Vanguard veterans. So, very desperate stuff from the World Eaters, but we shall see going into World Eaters shooting phase turn 3. End of World Eaters shooting phase turn 3, and the fire really is very, very pitiful coming out of the World Eaters now. The last Marine with his melter gun managed to wound one of the Vanguard with it, but the Raven Guard raised his storm shield and the beam harmlessly deflected. Meanwhile, this last tactical marine managed to take down a Sternguard with his bolt pistol shot, but that really has made his charge harder, and that's not ideal, because if he fails his charge, one of these Sternguards still has a combi melter, which, combined with the Devastators and the las cannon, is surely enough to deal with a Predator with one hull point. Maybe a tactical miscalculation there, but we shall see. We have some assaults. The Rampagers, the Marine with his melter gun, and crucially, the Centurion to take out Sergeant Var in World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 3. End of World Eaters Assault Phase Turn 3, and as we have come to expect from the World Eaters, carnage has been brought to Halo Valley. The Rampagers made it in to the Vanguard veterans, who are just emerging from the smoke of the destroyed Rhino, and the Champion immediately hacked down two of the Raven Guard with his phalanx blades. In return, the last surviving veteran smashed him down with his power fist, but the Raven was himself then hacked to pieces by the last surviving Rampager with his excoriator chain axe. He has consolidated through the smoke towards the Vanguard veterans. The Marine with the melter gun attempted to charge them but failed, and good news for the World Eaters. Although it took every single one of their attacks, they managed to drag down the Vanguard before they could swing their power fists over this side of the valley, and now the Raven Guard Devastators have good reason to be worried. Meanwhile, a ridiculous turn of events has occurred here. The Sternguard managed to shoot down the charging World Eater Tactical Marine with a vengeance round, but as the second shot loaded into the breach, the first Sternguard's weapon exploded, taking him out as well. So the last remaining Sternguard is on his own, and he is now faced with quite an intimidating presence advancing towards him. Although Kalen Var managed to hit the World Eater Centurion twice with his power sword, he failed to do any wounds, and in return the World Eater crushed him easily with his power fist, earning Slay the Warlord. So the World Eaters have really torn the heart out of this Raven Guard ambush, but is it too little too late? We still have a squad of Vanguard veterans, we still have the Devastators and the Marine with his las cannon, and this last Sternguard also has a combi melter. So all the Raven Guard have to do to achieve victory is to destroy this Predator. But turn 4 is their last turn. This is a game of strike and fade. It is a short game. We only gave the Ravens 4 turns to achieve their objective. Will they be able to do it? We will see going into Raven Guard turn 4. End of Raven Guard movement phase turn 4, and the Ravens are trying to finish this ambush in style. The Vanguard veterans have leapt into the centre of the column. They now have the option to charge the Predator, should that be necessary, or the Centurion, or even the Land Raider. If both the Centurion and the Predator can be finished off by a melter shot from this Sternguard veteran and a las cannon from this tactical squad and the 3rd Company Devastators, then maybe the Raven Guard could get maximum points if the Vanguard can then take out the Land Raider. We shall see going into Raven Guard shooting phase turn 4. End of Raven Guard shooting phase turn 4, and this Centurion has survived his second melter hit of the game. Another hit and another one to wound. He just will not go down. Meanwhile, this tactical squad with their las cannon missed yet again, and a disastrous turn of events has befallen the Raven Guard. The Devastators managed to do 2 whole points of damage on the Predator, but shooting through the wrecked Rhino, the Predator made both of its cover saves. In fact, the only casualty inflicted in this phase was the last Rampager, who was shot down by a volley from the Raven Guard snipers in the outskirts of the base. This has been a disastrous phase for the Ravens. Although it looks like they are still going to achieve victory, the Vanguard now have no choice but to plough into the Predator in Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 4. End of Raven Guard Assault Phase Turn 4, and finally the Predator in the centre of the World Eaters convoy has been blown to pieces. The Vanguard easily smashed it with their power fists, but as its ammunition reserves exploded, they sheltered behind their storm shields and none of them were harmed. That gives the Ravens the 5 points they need for victory. 2 for the Land Raider, 1 Rhino, the Predator and another Rhino. Currently the World Eaters, they have 4. They have 2 for the Land Raider, 1 for First Blood and 1 for Slay the Warlord, thanks to their Centurion. But there is no way back for them in this game. The Raven Guard, they have been ordered to fade back into the surrounding highlands. The Raven Guard, they strike, they fade, and although they made very hard work of it in this game, they have managed to achieve a marginal victory. Veteran Sergeant Kalen Varr has gone down. That is a sad loss to the Raven Guard chapter, but nevertheless they have badly damaged the World Eaters campaign by destroying this convoy. Thanks very much for watching. We hope you are enjoying the Chalice of Blood narrative campaign as much as we are enjoying playing and filming it for you. Please subscribe to our channel and we will keep producing as many Warhammer 40,000 battle reports as we can. See ya!